Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, a continuing series where I review every single Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS2, and CPS3 game ever made. Today we're taking a look at Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, also known as Pocket Fighter in Japan. This is basically a fighting game, apparently for kids, that incorporates a lot of the Darkstalkers characters, a lot of the Street Fighter characters, as well as some of the Red Earth characters in a super deformed or chibi format. Whatever you want to call it, even with a really long name, it's a super fun game that's colorful and weird, and definitely a nice diversion or distraction from the mainline Capcom fighting game entries. And it has a really long and interesting intro as well. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But for a game that was definitely intended on being more of a casual experience and apparently more geared towards children, Capcom put a lot of work into this. The entirely new set of graphics with the super deformed characters. This is definitely the longest intro of any of the CPS2 games around. They definitely put a lot of visual flair into this, and a lot of the visuals remind me of Waku Waku 7 on the Neo Geo AES and MVS, even though these games don't have anything in common other than the fact that the colors and the artistic style remind me of them. It's just a little interesting comparison. But you'll see right off the top there, we pick our character and we pick our speed and we get right into the fight. And like most games, if Morgan's available, that is the character I'm going to be choosing. But instantaneously, you'll see that there's chests in the play field and gems are coming out. And those are going to allow you to level up or power up. So there's definitely an extra layer of component underneath the fighting game mechanics, which is why it keeps saying that even though this was marketed towards being like a kid's game, as far as the visuals and the style are concerned, I do feel like there's extra mechanics in it that actually give it more depth than you would originally think. Because each one of those gems powers up a certain subsection. You'll see we have punch and kick. And that's the interesting thing. The control scheme is very simple. It's punch, kick, special, and taunt. And you need to power up the special move. And if you pull it off, it's unblockable. But there is a lot of risk reward in there, because when you're powering that attack up, you are just 100% opening yourself up to taking a lot of damage. But that's the thing, like I said, it's a simple game. There's only 4 buttons compared to the 6-button setup of most Capcom fighting games. But once you actually deal with the gems and the power-up system and having to time everything, there is a lot here that feels way more kind of difficult than a kid's fighting game would be. And I really do like the fact that it just goes into the next match without fading away, so it feels like it's one continuous fight. You can make a fight last 2 to 3 minutes depending on who you're playing against and how you're playing. And unlike a lot of the other Capcom games where I say the AI doesn't really seem to give you that much, in this game they seem to be relatively competent. But I mean, taking a look at the background as well, that's just amazing. There's this giant serpent eating someone, you have an elephant, there's just so many different things going on, even with the screen transitions. This seems to be the most fully featured Capcom fighting game on the CPS2 as far as graphics, transitions, sound, and overall feeling like it was intended to go onto a console is concerned. And this was ported over to consoles as well, but I love you even have M. Bison there looking through that window, seeing what he might want for Christmas. It's just so much fun and so many things going on in the background that it just feels like a really special type of title. Now I am playing it on the Mr. FPGA Hotego cores, but I do own an original B board for this game as well. I got it cheap and I'd never played it previously to that other than a few times in the arcades in the 90s, and I picked it up on a whim and absolutely fell in love with the game. And you'll see there that when you are hit by a super move, your gems do come out. But switching characters now, I do like that there's a lot of story in this game. I would say that this game has more story in it than any other Capcom arcade game on the CPS, CPS2, or CPS3. And I don't know if that's because they intended this for children and they wanted to give them something to read, but right here we're looking for a job that has 3 meals a day, a nap, and you only work 2 hours. I'm not sure where that job is, but I would love to find it as well, because it sounds like a really great setup for me. But here we are, we're in Chinatown, and maybe in China, maybe not, who knows. But you have that paper dragon in the background, you have other Street Fighter characters eating a bowl of noodles. There's just so much stuff to look at, and I absolutely love this game for what it is doing. It's colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant, the mechanics are fun, the AI is giving you something to fight against. And if you are playing with another human player that's into this game as well, some of the matches in Gem Fighter are better than I think some of the matches in Street Fighter 2 are. Now that's a personal opinion. I'm sure I'll get a lot of comments down below telling me how wrong that really is, but that's just how I feel. But as good as the graphics are, the soundtrack is great as well. So go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds to a minute, and I'll tell you more about why when I come back that this game is definitely one you should check out. But enjoy. The fact that Chun-Li turned into a skeleton there and had the sounds from Ghouls and Ghosts makes me think that this might be the Capcom game that features fatalities, which is really strange for having fatalities in a children's themed game. Now unfortunately, this game didn't really have much else going for it after it came out. It's available on the Street Fighter Alpha Anthology for PlayStation 2, but it really hasn't been brought over to any modern systems, which is quite unfortunate because I think this is one of the best games Capcom has ever made, but that's definitely just more of my opinion. Like I said, if you pick up a Mister, it plays incredibly on it, but of course you can emulate this on any CPS2 emulation platform that you want. It's going to play really well as well. But even again in the backgrounds there, you have that cat riding a cart with pigs, and now moving over here, we're getting more of that Darkstalkers vibe to it. Even though we're fighting Ken, we have vampires in the background that are dancing, and a lot of these sprites are super deformed versions of things that we would have seen in the Darkstalkers or Night Warriors franchise already. So it's just really fun how much interesting things it pulls over. And I would say graphically, that fake marbled mirror effect on the floor too is absolutely amazing. This game is just visual flair from start to finish, and I cannot say enough good things about how it looks. But mechanically, again, it just does so many interesting things here. You'll see we got that yellow gem there, but you can hit treasure chests that are going to have life up items in it as well, and I like the fact that you can actually increase your life bar and get back some of that damage while you're actively playing. It's something that fighting games don't do all that often, but I love the fact that this one here is doing it. It just gives you a little something extra mechanically, and that's why I keep coming back to the fact that Capcom said this was a children's fighting game, but all the different layers of mechanics in it make it feel like it's deeper than some other fighting games that I guess would be oriented towards more of an adult audience. And that's just really interesting dichotomy between children's game and having extra layers going on in it. But again, I can't say enough good about this game, and it is unfortunate that Capcom never really did much with the franchise after this again, but it has everything I'm looking for. It's colorful, it's bright, the mechanics are great, the soundtrack is awesome. You'll see there that I was able to pull off another fatality finish, and here we're at the last stage in the game, and Zangief here is the one hiring for that 3 meals a day, 2 hours of work, and a guaranteed nap job. So Zangief, if you're out there, send me your email, I will send you a resume. I can do this too, for sure. But I just like that this game is so story based, and you know, a lot of arcade games story is basically irrelevant, so they don't give it to us, but when you get home console ports of fighting games, they usually include a story mode because they know you don't want to finish the game in 15 minutes. They got to expand that longevity. But this game, more than anything, felt like it was just a console game that happened to come out in arcades first. But you'll see here, this game's not the hardest thing in the world. Honestly, I'm playing this on normal, and I was able to get to the end and beat Zangief and finish the game super easily. So if you're not the best at fighting games either, or if you're not really a big Street Fighter player, this is a good place to start because it's not going to completely decimate you like some of the other games I'm going to be talking about shortly. But yeah, we've beaten the game and we get this full cinematic story in the end. Short of that, if you have any questions or comments, I'll leave them down below. I love chatting with you guys. Have you ever played this before? Are you into it? Do you like kind of the gem aspect, or is this something that you kind of just casually, overlook towards some of Capcom's more fundamental fighting games? Short of that, I will be back next Wednesday with an episode in the CPS2 review series. We're getting kind of close to CPS3. Obviously, that's going to be nothing but fighting games, so we'll be talking a lot about fighters coming up soon. Like I mentioned earlier, do me a huge favor. Go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell. It definitely helps us out. But we will be back soon. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.